Socy Dark Talks is back. Today, we're diving into the eerie world of the night as I share with you 3 scary stories of solitary late-night walks. From mysterious followers to unexpected encounters, these stories will make you think twice about walking alone at night. So, lock your doors, grab your favorite blanket, and let's get right into the first terrifying tale. Story 1. Whispers from a Torn Bag. On the quiet road home late at night, during the silence just before the next song started, the heavy breathing of a man sitting on a park bench about 2 meters from me echoed in the still air. His deep breaths, accompanied by small, giggling laughs, made my heart leap. I swallowed hard and glanced at the man. My heart seemed to stop when I saw that he was now staring straight at me. His face, with his silver hair, sun-damaged skin, and a smile revealing a gap-toothed grin, was unsettling. But the most terrifying part was his eyes, large pupils rimmed with black, making them look soulless. He gestured for me to take off my headphones. Reluctantly, I complied, not wanting to anger him. Seeing me obey like a child, he gave an even more frightening smile and moved closer. The foul smell from his mouth forced me to suppress the urge to vomit. He whispered in a raspy voice,
"Do you want to see something special?"
Confused, I looked at him as he pointed to his bag. I scrutinized the bag. It was old and torn, with dark stains at the bottom. I shook my head, quickly refusing reflexively. My voice trembled as I responded, and I noticed his eyes narrowing.
"Really?"
he said, patting the bag. He added that there was something very special in that mysterious bag, and he really wanted to share it with me. I forced a smile and shook my head again in refusal. He fell silent, and I coughed violently, turning to look around behind me. I felt as if he was checking to see if anyone else was around us. A bad feeling suddenly surged in my mind. I made an excuse that I needed to get home and left immediately.
"You work at the department store at the crossroads, right?"
"I've seen you there a few times." My legs froze at his words. This man knew where I worked. If I went home now, he would definitely know where I lived. Mechanically, I turned back to look at the man once more. He did indeed look very familiar. Seeing that he caught my attention, he added,
"You see, I've made something special with some items I bought from your store. That's why I wanted to show you."
My blood ran cold. Did he have some sinister plan, having spotted me in this secluded place? Did he know the route I usually took? I had never seen him on this path before. I shrank back, clutching my bag tightly against my chest. I glanced around and realized I had at least another 15 minutes to walk before I reached home. I looked back at the man, who was now grinning broadly at me.
"Your name?"
he said.
"It's Anna, right?"
My eyes widened in shock. This man even knew my name. Was he following me? I tried to remain calm while my mind raced through the worst scenarios, looking for a way to escape. He began to unzip his bag, and I stared at him in horror as he pulled out a fabric doll from inside. The doll wore a dirty white dress with stains similar to those on the bag. The stains were dark red, like dried blood. The doll had long dark hair tied into 2 messy braids. Strangely, the hair looked very real and was the exact color of my hair. The man held the doll out to me and said,
"Here, take it. I made it just for you."
That was the last straw. He jumped up from the bench and ran towards me. I quickly ran to the nearest public phone booth and slammed the door shut. We were separated by only a thin layer of glass, but he seemed to have no intention of breaking it to reach me. I screamed loudly, hoping someone passing by would hear and help me escape from this madman. He stood facing me, his face pressed against the glass, and I realized there was more inside the bag. He was holding a large blood-stained kitchen knife, scraping it against the glass. He uttered a sentence that has haunted me to this day before leaving.
"Don't sleep, because I might be under your bed one night."
After that, he disappeared into the darkness, leaving a shroud of terror over me. I sat curled up in the phone booth, trembling not just from fear, but also from the cold of the late night. Too terrified to do anything but cry, it was a long while before a passerby found me and called the police. The police arrived and listened to my story seriously. They took note of the description of the man and the bloody knife, as well as the details about the creepy doll he had tried to give me. They escorted me home and promised to conduct a thorough investigation. In the following weeks, I lived in a constant state of anxiety and fear. Every shadow, every strange noise startled me. I dared not go out at night and frequently checked the locks on my doors. Eventually, the police informed me that they had captured a suspect who matched my description, and he had confessed to other instances of harassment in the area. They found the doll and the knife in his apartment, along with other evidence suggesting he had planned to harm me and others. Even though I knew the man was now detained, I knew it would take a long time to fully recover. His final words still echo in my head, a reminder that although he was caught, he might one day return and haunt me. Story 2: The Long-Haired Stranger. After a late dinner party with colleagues, I decided to walk home instead of calling for a ride. The crisp night air of spring would sober me up before reaching home. The deserted street echoed only the clopping of my heels on the pavement. As I passed by a dark alley, the dim streetlights could not dispel the thick darkness engulfing the area. I suddenly noticed a tall figure sitting hunched under a light. This homeless man had unusually shiny long hair, which seemed out of place with his ragged, dirty appearance. I quickened my steps, trying to pass the man as quickly as possible. Yet he seemed to notice me and started to approach me. Under the streetlight, his face revealed a sinister look, and his bloodthirsty eyes seemed to see a new prey.
"It's very cold tonight. You should head home,"
the man said in a hoarse voice, seemingly trying to hide something. I didn't respond, just quietly observed. Beneath that long hair, I spotted unmistakable dark red streaks, blood. Suddenly, I remembered the news about the recent mysterious disappearances of women. I felt suffocated. The terrifying stories I had heard now seemed to manifest right before my eyes. The man began to step closer, and I could clearly see his hair was not only long, but also well cared for, completely at odds with his unkempt appearance. Suddenly, he stopped, as if he had noticed something in my frightened eyes. Without waiting, I turned around and started running towards the end of the street, my footsteps echoing on the empty road. I dared not look back, afraid that the man with long hair was chasing me, which would be a lifelong nightmare I couldn't bear to remember. After running home in a state of panic, I immediately locked the door and checked all the windows. The dense darkness of the night made me feel more uneasy than ever. I decided to turn on the security camera system to check around the house, hoping that the man had not followed me home. At midnight, just as I was drifting off to sleep, strange noises broke the silence of the house. The sound was precisely small clicking sounds coming from the front door, as if someone was trying to unlock it. Approaching the door and peering through the peephole, I was horrified to find the bizarre man I had encountered earlier standing there. Not only that, but he also held a large hammer in his hand. Realizing I had spotted him, the man began knocking on the door harder. His eyes seemed to hold a terrifying purpose. He had come all the way here to kill me. I immediately called the police and tried to remain calm. While waiting for them, I continued to monitor him through the screen. During this time, another detail caught my attention. His long hair was actually made from the hair of several other women, victims he had murdered previously. This truth made me shiver with disgust. Moreover, my hair was the next target in his collection. When he became too impatient, he started to break down the door with his hammer. However, before he could enter, the police car arrived and arrested the men right outside my house. During the investigation, they confirmed that he had been suspected in several recent women's disappearances, and the hammer in his hand was used to collect the hair from previous victims. My life, which seemed peaceful, was completely disrupted, and I knew from then on I would never feel safe walking alone at night again. Story 3: Footsteps in the Dark. The story happened last month, but only now do I feel emotionally ready to share it. As usual, I was walking home after a night shift at the bar where I work. The city at midnight lacked the daytime bustle, leaving only quiet, dimly lit streets. I was accustomed to such walks home, but that night, something felt different. As I crossed the central city park, the sound of the wind rustling through the leaves whispered in my ears. I began to feel uneasy, realizing I was the only one around. Suddenly, I heard soft footsteps behind me. I turned around but saw no one. Thinking I had misheard, I continued. The footsteps did not stop. Instead, they grew louder and closer. Feeling them draw nearer, I quickened my pace, my heart pounding in my chest. I tried to reassure myself that I was just overly anxious. However, as I passed the unnamed soldier's monument in the park, I glanced at my shadow and was startled to see two shadows cast. I stopped, took a deep breath, and decided to look back. There was no one there, only the sound of the wind. But as I resumed walking, the footsteps sounded again, this time faster and closer. I couldn't bear to walk any longer and started running forward, hoping to escape the mysterious shadow. Reaching a street corner, I saw a parked truck with the driver standing outside smoking. I hurried over to ask for help. The man looked me up and down, smirked, and said I had nothing to worry about. I explained about the footsteps I had heard, but the man just shook his head and gestured towards his truck, inviting me to get in so he could drive me home. In the truck, as we drove through the dark streets, I began to feel calm again. However, when the driver suddenly asked,
"Do you know how lucky you are? Many people never leave that park."
a chill ran down my spine. This unexpected question made me alert, realizing that the route we were taking was not towards my apartment. Clearly, the driver had no intention of taking me home. Everything around me started to feel incredibly confusing and frightening. The driver turned onto a desolate, more desolate road. Trying to stay calm, I asked where we were going, but the man just laughed and kept driving. At that moment, I was truly terrified. I realized I might be in the hands of a madman, or worse, I had to do something to save myself. Calmly searching through my bag for anything that could be used as a weapon, I found a lighter and held it in my hand, ready to defend myself. When the truck slowed at a deserted intersection, I gathered all my courage, opened the door, and jumped out. I rolled several times on the pavement before running towards the lights of an all-night restaurant. The driver did not pursue me. In the quiet night, all that remained were the driver's eerie laughter and the sound of the truck speeding away into the darkness. The next day, as I sipped coffee and browsed the news, I came across a shocking crime in my town. The culprit was the very driver I had encountered. It's unimaginable what could have happened if I had stayed in that truck. Everything happened so fast that I shudder to remember it. Don't forget to like and subscribe our channel so you won't miss out any creepy tales and scary adventures in the upcoming videos. This is Socy Dark Talks. Stay curious and embrace the darkness.